Hello. So I'm inside and it has been like 15 degrees outside for the past 2 days. 15 degrees Celsius, okay? Just to give you a comparison, last week around this time it was 39 degrees. 39 degrees. Now it's 15 degrees. We are back to winter weather. It's crazy. It's crazy. I'll tell you, it's crazy. Hey, I think this is one of the proof of my Australianness these days is that I'm so obsessed talking about the weather when I see a person. Not that I'm seeing you it with my eyeballs, but you know what I mean. I hope. So today I was crying again, and maybe it is my period coming over soon, but I don't know. I just felt like maybe I should just cry and cry and cry without end. Oh, I'm sorry. And I got no one to talk to. And I guess lately I think I'm lonely. Maybe I realized the meaning of the word lonely, and it's not, to me personally. It's not even uh, a connection or the desire to connect with people. I guess like now it's just surface level. It's like, oh, I just like having people around. Not multiple people, just one person like coming in and out. So I guess like I'm accustomed to that now. I'm like, oh no, I'm accustomed to that. And like when they're not here, I feel like, oh, this is weird. So I'm feeling like stuffed because I realized like, oh, I think my body actually am a social animal. So it actually requires another human being to for it to kind of stabilize itself and without like needing to freak out too often, kind of have like that stability and that steadiness for it to exist. Because I feel like as soon as there's no one around anymore and I'm just me, I feel like a slime and I just turn into this um non-form being. If you watch Star Trek, there is this I think like Deep Space Nine. I know I'm a Trekkie, but not really obsessively. Like I don't go to, I just like watching it when I was growing up, and I still kind of track it here and there when there is a new Star Trek coming out in the movies or something, but not to the point of obsession where I get like all the figurines and I know all the Klingon language and etc. So not to that degree, but I am kind of a Trekkie. But there is this character that is basically doesn't particularly have a form, the alien species for this. Like he's one of the officer, but he doesn't really have a form. He's like a slime, and he will need a period of time where he can just be not in a solid form, so he can just be a blob in his quarter somewhere. So because like holding form is very in energy intense activity, because it requires a lot of energy. It requires a lot of mental energy, a lot of emotional, physical energy. And for him, he just, well, we use the word him because that's what he was presented as, but as a non-form being, because he was basically just a blob. I don't know if it's a he. So he needs that time for him to be just like a non-form, right? To be not having any form whatsoever that we can recognize as, humanoid or something. And I'm feeling like I'm in my non-form era for this period anyway, for a little bit, back again, where I just become slimy and blobby again, where I don't hold any form. That's not good for me, I think. It's a bit dangerous because I feel like now um, I'm actually falling into a bad habit again. My bad habit is basically trying to relieve all my trauma, trying to l- basically get triggered in advance before the real event happen in my life, so that I can't, so I, it's like as if that I'm in control over it, so that I'm like, see, this happens again. See, like I knew that they would come and harass me about this. See how they would demand this. See how they would extort things out of me. See, like it's as if that I am doing that, but in advance. But like I'm scared that these things are gonna happen to me again. Like it has happened many times in the past, and now I'm feeling like this anticipation. I'm bracing myself for this event that is not yet happening, but because in the past it always happened when I'm in the same situation again and again. So it just keep re-traumatizing me, like worse and worse as I grow older. And it is a loop that I can't break out of. I tried so many times within my capacity, within my ability to do so, and I am unable to do it. So now I'm stuck in this cycle that I can't break, and I'm bracing again for another trauma to basically come at me, and waiting for that impact to happen, like that disaster to happen. And I not in a good place. But at the same time, I'm in a better emotional space compared to years previously. And physically, I think even though I'm still having a lot of brain fog, a lot more dissociation physically and mentally, like there are a lot of moments where I feel like I am just watching myself doing a lot of things on the inside but not really participating. Like I could see my body doing stuff, talking to people, laughing, making jokes. But the me is just watching her do all of it from like behind my head or something. It's like there's a split there. So that's what I say as a dissociation. It actually gotten worse. And I think that was the reason why I feel I might have been calmer, but I might not be calmer. Maybe I was just dissociated so much. Maybe my body was actually still going through a lot of the anxiety and the fear responses, which was, but it's just that me, the soul, the personality is not in the body. So for this personality, maybe it's saying like, hey, I didn't feel all of that, but it actually happened. But because I dissociated, I didn't experience it as my own experience. um, that said though, I do still have a lot of stressful experiences, like waking up in the morning for the past month and a half. I have been drenched in sweat a lot. Before that, I wasn't. So this is like my body still dumping a lot of cortisol because of an event in my personal life that I got triggered from like last month, and it's ongoing now. I'm trying not very like I have problems oversharing my personal life to the public. I completely always under the assumption no one's gonna watch anything that I make here or on the original channel. But I feel like if you don't know my original channel, then don't worry about it. Just stay here. I don't know. If you don't know, the only reason I'm making content or making anything on the internet is so that I can monetize it, because I don't have the capacity to do 9 to 5. I don't have the energy, or I have Hashimoto, which is an autoimmune condition, which is probably manageable, but not to the extent of doing like 9 to 5, 5 days a week, 40 hours a week type of like energy deal. So I feel like I've been trying for the past decade or so to have a way to make money uh residually. Like I don't think it's passive, because passive means like you don't necessarily do a lot of the work. Residually means like I still do the work, and the work still can be sold and I can still earn income, but it's not passive. Because for example, for YouTube, even though technically I can still make money from videos that I made like 10 years ago, 6 years ago, YouTube algorithm doesn't really favor that as much. YouTube algorithm usually push to recommendations or browse, or like unless I have like Mr. Beast kind of laser focus energy and resources and tenacity, which I don't, which is what the Hashimoto is basically taking away from me. All that energy and all that ability to kind of just burn myself out to the ground and not die. But if I burn myself to the ground, I will die. um, and I will suffer on the way there. So like you actually still have to make like new videos, otherwise your channel will be dead a lot and then your channel will be demonetized. So YouTube actually require you to make new content, so it's not passive in that way. It's residual and you still have the potential to make a lot of money, if you know how to break the algorithm and if you know what people are searching and everything. To be honest, I don't have that capacity to be that top tier. In maybe in a very bad way, I am relying on luck. I know that's probably the worst business decision that you can ever make as a person. Is like, luck what? You like, what is your business plan? I'm counting to be lucky. um because to be successful in anything, including YouTube, you have to put in the time and energy to research what is working right now. And that is always ongoing because, especially YouTube, just because it's working right now in whatever month this is and year, doesn't mean that the next month it will still work the same way. Because it's different, especially when it involves technology. So I don't have the capacity to do that. Like I am actually almost like really wanted to just stop doing a lot of YouTube stuff last year because I was vlogging 5 days a week, which got me over to the goal that I wanted, which was monetization. So I managed to monetize my channel, vlogging channel, after 10 years. But even that, I only gained 2,000 subscribers. And throughout this year, that number did not change at all. It just stays at 2,000. I actually lost a lot of subscribers because I cut down the vlogging part from 5 days to only to 2 days, and then I cut it down again to 1 day. So because it was just so energy consuming for me personally, and that's why I felt like, oh, I know I probably should research and everything, but I just like my capacity is just too much. Like it's just hitting all the capacity that is required for work and stuff. And I think about 2, 3 days ago, I was watching this YouTube video about, and yes, I'm picking on my hair, um, and on my scalp. I think there's a name for that, but anyway, and I've been doing this since I was a kid. Um, and no, I'm not bald yet. Hopefully not. Uh, there was this channel like that I click often. Like I click a lot of channels about philosophy and also astrology. I'm like a actually I listen to a lot of astrology horoscope type of reading on YouTube and on TikTok. And even though I watch it quite religiously, I feel at the same time I still don't believe it. It's like I watch it, but I feel like, yeah, I'm giving myself instruction. Don't believe it because it will just give you a lot of pain and heartbreaks and stuff. Because they're there to comfort you with good words, with good fortune, like reading of the future. They're just there to kind of lie to you so that you don't yourself, because false hope is still hope. So in that sense, it's a good thing they're doing a service, but of course, like, you don't want to be having people who are in full blown psychosis or delusion to watch them and believe it for it to be true, and then bet everything for that to be the word of God, and therefore bet like their lives or bet their fortune that is supposedly to feed their family just because the horoscope says so. That can be dangerous. But in one of those videos, um there's this lady that basically kind of like trying to merge two ideals or like two concept, which was the concept of trauma by Peter Levine, which is about how PTSD is usually happen because that particular processing for that particular trauma has not been completed. For example, like in a trauma, in a physical trauma, like if you're in a car accident and then your body, every time you remember that car accident, is like, I don't know, tense or doing all of that. But like when you trace it, when you sit down in a therapy, for example, in the book, and then they basically wanted to discuss, okay, what is actually the follow through for your body that has not been completed in that particular incident. So I'm just making this up. Like I'm just trying to like pull it out of my like out of thin air from what I remember. So if you want to read it, you have to read the book yourself, or you can get a summary, like just get an eye and then pull the summary out because like I'm pretty sure the content is out there. I haven't finished reading it. I'm still kind of like trying to read it. I haven't finished reading it. It has been a year now. Um, but like for example, let's just say continuing with this progress is like, okay, the required movement to finish that thing was probably, I don't know, maybe put your hand like above your face, or like kick the air back out of, like out of the body, for example, so that it doesn't touch any out of like your abdomen, so that your abdomen is safe from any kind of like shard of glass piercing through it while the car is flipped upside down and rolled upside down, so maybe that's the required movement for your body to be able to feel safe, or to feel as if that it is defending itself properly. So like what would happen like in this type of therapies is that they would make the patients follow through with that movement. Like for example, they would make the patient to make like go like that or go like that, or this is from my understanding, okay, in my head. So there is that bit where it's completion, there's some movements that is required during the during the trauma that you haven't really done, that you probably need to do, so that your body knows that that particular incident, that particular event is completed. So your body can move on and say, yeah, I did what I could. That's what happened. And I'm gonna, or maybe like if it's a mugging and then you froze, right? Like if it's a mugging with someone's like pointing a blade of knife at you, and then you just froze, and then every time there is a blade of knife, you froze again. And maybe in that instant, like the appropriate completion for that particular trauma is to punch the person who is holding the knife, for example. It can be reenacted probably in a safe environment. Maybe they wear like protection or something, and then you have the therapist probably. I'm not suggesting this. I'm just saying, like, I think this is what was happening in the book. And, like, I'm just trying to demonstrate to you the idea of completion through these trauma therapies in physical kind of traumatic events in people's life. So, this lady mentioned that particular idea of completion using Peter Levine's work, right? Like, so in the last example that I was telling you, it was basically you probably need to punch someone that that has that knife, and kick them and be really aggressive about it. And of course in a therapy setting, in a very secure and safe setting, stuff like this, like please include like don't go around, and if you have an incident like that, like don't go around. And I'm not a therapist, by the way, so do not take any kind of advice from me in regards to the therapies, psychological things. This is, I'm just trying to unload my brain so that I become at least a little lighter, and I don't become going into psychosis or whatever. I don't think so. I think my psyche is actually stronger now than it was previous years. But my nervous system is still extremely sensitive. It actually probably have gotten worse, which is very strange if you think about it. How can like all the parts of my is like some gets better, some get worse, and they're all not, they all seems very disconnected. But anyway, so this lady was saying that, using the same type of framework that with the PTSD, you can apply that to CPTSD, or like apply to, like, for example, I have a lot of freeze response, a lot of fawning as well. So uh that's my two trauma response that are very loud. Like, I still get flight and fight as well, but I my default is fawn and freeze, which is not good. But she's proposing the idea that all your chronic illnesses also, I might be wrong, so I don't even remember what it's called, the videos that I was reading. I don't even remember his her name, so I can't really point you to the video. um but she's like, what I got from her video was like, she's trying to say that all your fawn and freeze response is also trying to complete itself, but it can't. So it just keep going in a loop. And so what you need to do is that you need to allow it to complete, much like the fight and flight one, which was, use, for example, you need to let the body finishes the trauma response, like, punch the guy who has a knife, or like kick something, so that you're not trapped in a car accident, for example. And then if you use the word kick, maybe like the window will the glass window will break, and then you can escape, so that you don't feel trapped anymore inside the car, so you don't have to have that feeling of powerlessness. So that complete the event that was not complete when it actually was happening. So the idea is the same. It's like when you have chronic trauma responses, like when you freeze and you can't do anything, and it's not related to a trauma event, like it doesn't have that, you're not in a battlefield, you're not being robbed. It wasn't like this huge one incident type of trauma things, because chronic PTSD or complex PTSD is basically you just having those, daily micro torture that is compounded throughout your life, that becomes so big that your body basically shut down. And sometimes, most of the time, we get autoimmune condition, which in my case I did. And it's because we are not allowing ourselves to complete the events. We are not allowing our nervous system to complete the events. This is where I get really confused, because now I'm thinking, how do I complete the events? Like, what events do I need to complete? What is it? I was asking ChatGPT about this, and ChatGPT also, of course, like, if you don't have a clear idea, if you don't have a clear questions of how what you want to know, like, they can't really give it to you either, because they kind of have to dance around and like, oh, is this, is it that? So ChatGPT or AI is only good if you know what you want, so it can give it to you, and when it's wrong, then you can correct it. So um so uh, so now I'm stuck in that space where I need to figure out, like, how do I complete this trauma response that keep looping back to me, that is keep creating me this incident of coming back to the same situation over and over again. Like last year, I tried to do something which was very detrimental to my life, which was I spoke up to someone that I thought at that time was the cause of my huge Hashimoto autoimmune condition. Um, because my theory was, if I kept just avoiding this person, then I wouldn't be able to know if I have stood up to them, whether something could have changed or not. So I took a risk, and it went really bad. But this year, I felt not much better, but a little bit better compared to last year, with almost none of the supplements or vitamins of last year. So I was thinking maybe it did do something, although it was delayed by almost like my, I don't know, 9 months or a year after the event itself taken place, of of me speaking up and therefore doing something different than I have been up until that time. If this is confusing, I'm sorry, because like I am confused too, probably. Because I'm trying to make sense of it, okay? I'm trying to kind of just untie everything, trying to make, it a neat kind of framework in my head as well. If you guys don't know, this is like a stream of consciousness video, so this is just me like trying to dump all my thoughts. And also is a mechanism for me to kind of let it out, because I don't talk to anyone a lot, and I'm not really a talker when it comes to someone else, because I'm always at the receiving end of someone just keep opening their mouth all the time. And I feel like in real life you don't have the option to like just mute or like or just go to the next video. With this, if you're watching up until this far, that means you choose to listen to me, which is a good thing. If you don't want to listen to me, you can just always flick to another video, right? So you have choices. You can, if you want to support me, but you can't really listen to this because it's so boring, you're probably just going to mute it and let it run in the background. So it's like there you have so many choices. It's like if it's not fast enough, you can put me on 2 times speed. So there's a lot of options, right? So just me doing this is not actually inconveniencing anyone. So unlike like real life, sometimes people just shove you all their thoughts and feelings without considering whether you actually able to take it in or not. um yeah, so that's where I'm at right now. I'm trying to think about how can I complete this trauma loop that I've been having for decades. Like, it's what is the trauma that I need to complete? Like, what is the action? Because if I don't know what the trauma, what is the source of the thing that my body is trying to get over, trying to complete the processes of, then I don't know what the processes of that what is the processing that I need to take to complete it so that I can move on, right? So that's where I'm at right now. I'm trying to figure out like the I don't know the it like what is it? Are you afraid? Because all my trauma is in my tummy here. Like if I get stressed, it's here. If I get fearful, I get frozen. I get very icy here, and then all my limbs stop working, so I have to be in bed for like 5 days because like my stomach would be icy, my limbs won't work because it will be limped and it will be weak. I can muster maybe about 2 3 hours worth of energy just to get through the day to buy grocery, for example, and to cook something. But usually even that, like the hunger usually disappears during the trauma response. So I probably would have just gotten something really easy, like maybe just a slice of bread, and then shove it in my mouth, and then went back again and limp at either on this couch or on my bed. So it's like it's bad, but because now I am not attacking this responses. I'm not blaming it. I'm not berating myself for having it. I just write it out because I found that is the fastest way through. Because if I berate it, if I talk to myself really badly or cruelly, it's just adding unnecessary load to my nervous system than it already is. So it's extremely unnecessary. And it's not even being kind, it's not even being trying to enable myself, how you enable person. It's not like I'm spoiling myself. It's just more like a methodical treatment. It's the same like if I cut myself, and then my methodical treatment would be clean the wound and then put pressure on the wound for about 10 minutes, and then check on the wound to see whether it's still bleeding or not. And then if it still does, then you put more pressure for another 5 10 minutes and repeat. And if it has stopped bleeding, then you put antibiotic like betadine or something, and then wrap it really tightly with a band-aid. So that's my method, right? And I also have other methods that I implied, so that I applied when I get burned, when I get burned a lot, like I talked about last time. So it's almost the same methodical steps that I'm taking now, because I am so getting these trauma responses so often that I'm just applying the procedure that needs to be done so that I can get through it faster. So in a way, it's like I can stop bleeding, in a physical metaphor. So the fastest way for me is just not to berate it, because to berate it is basically like poking at the wound and trying to see, and like, spreading it, and then to see, or squeezing it to get all the blood like coming out. That's so unnecessary when it comes to physical wounds. So it's also like I'm applying that to my like psychological wound and my emotional wound. It's like I don't need to do that. I don't need to berate myself. That's basically like so totally unhelpful. I can get an infection, I can get an emotional infection. So no, don't do that. So the fastest way is just to make sure that I eat something every day at least. And then even though it's just a piece of bread or two pieces of bread, or something that is just pop into my mouth, like I have to make sure I do that, because otherwise my gut system will shut down, and I don't want to go into a catatonic, no, a catonic, no, catonic keto, into a ketosis. Sorry. I didn't want to go into a ketosis, which is like when your body switch from burning carbs to burning um, brown fat in your body, um, which is healthier, of course, which is healthier, which is what most people want to do. But that doesn't really make me feel good for now. I might do it later when I'm healthier emotionally, when I'm healthier in a healthier space, because that would create a lot of fight and flight in my body, and I don't particularly enjoy that. So I just try for it not to go into ketosis. So I'm just trying not to starve myself, basically. Um, because I don't want to be burning up all my reserve energy if I can do it now, if I can help it now. So I do that, and I also just have to be there when it's like a lot of EMDR. That's basically what I do when I go into a freeze response, a lot of EMDR. So I'm using like EMDR Trisense. I know like a lot of people probably already know what I use, but I use EMDR Trisense. All you need to do is just like to uh, basically to, so this is what it is. I don't know, probably you can't see it. Is EMDR Trisense. So it's just an app that you get on Google Store. You just need two phones. Like if you just grab your phone from like your old phone, it will work. Um, and you just search like EMDR Trisense like that, and it will show up on your screen. And then you just have to set it up for yourself. And what it does, it just gives you a bilateral stimulation. So it just like either give you a sound and then a vibration, a haptic feedback, like basically like that, which that's what I use, like the haptic feedback, like so it will just alternately vibrate between one to on the other side. And then it will also give you like a visual feedback, which is you basically train your eyes to move like this, because EMDR is basically eye movement desensitization. I don't know what the R is, reorganization or rewiring. So it basically helps your brain kind of process trauma so that it becomes, you know, it It's not stuck anymore. Basically, that's what it's trying to do. But you can search it yourself, Google it, so that don't count on my words to, to believe it. So I do a lot of that. I'll do a lot of EMDR, and I do a lot of just writing it out. Usually it's 5 days, and I still letting it out. Like even when I go to sleep, and the next day my body would dump cortisol, and then it would just sweat from head to toe. And I'm monitoring it that way. Like maybe about 2 weeks ago, there was a moment where I did not even sleep for 2 days for 48 hours, and I think I spoke about this. And that was bad. But there was one day afterwards where I crashed, because basically you can't really not sleep for 48 hours without repercussion. So the repercussion of this was actually I slept from 1 a.m. to 9 a.m., 8 hours full, which I never done before in the past, I don't know, for my memory. But what's different was on this day when it happened, because of it was basically compensation of 48 hours not sleeping the 2 days previously. I felt satisfaction from that sleep. It was a restorative sleep. So it was a restful sleep. It was the first sleep that felt restful, that felt satisfying in decades. I can't even remember the last time I felt that. And I haven't felt that since. So now I recognize the feeling of what restful sleep feels like, because what happened when I woke up was that I suddenly have space in my head, in my mind, and in my emotional space. Suddenly I feel like there is space. Like I started doing, planning things for things that I have postponed, that I have put off before. That, and it wasn't rushed. It wasn't as if there is this desire to do it as quickly as possible. It was as if that, yeah, I will do that today, and I will give myself space and time to do it, and I can take my time to do it. It was a very beautiful unfolding. I know it's such ordinary moments in life, but that day gave me a glimpse of what I actually want. I want every time I go to sleep, the sleep to be restorative, to be healing, so that the effect of it is so major. It basically gives the day that you are awake during the day such a productive and healing quality to it too, because it feels like the task is not a big deal anymore. Before the restorative sleep, it felt as if it was such an unsurmountable task to get over, which it wasn't. It only took about half an hour to do. Yes, it took a little bit of physical, energy and activity and work, but it wasn't an unsurmountable task. But it was before, and it was a fact that it was unsurmountable before. But after the sleep, the restorative sleep, it was a small task. And it was also a fact that it was a small task. And I think this is a difference between people that have healthy nervous system and people who have a very damaged nervous system like mine. Is that when we people who have damaged nervous system say that we can't do all of that, that's too much for us, it means like it is too much for us. But because the people who usually judge us, especially people like me who from the outside don't look like we have any kind of disability or like any kind of damage to our ability to do the full potential or the full work required, we will just look like we're lying. And from that particular event, I get it, because from people who have healthy nervous system or robust nervous system, meaning like they probably feel icky today, they probably feel a bit off, but if they sleep it off, the next day it will reset for them, and they will be able to do that task again as if that it is just a small task. So I think healthy nervous system also consisting of that, the ability to reset every night, every time they sleep. And I think like with damaged nervous system like mine, every time I go to sleep, even today when I woke up, I felt already tired, already exhausted, as if that my whole body worked out whole night. I was sweating from head to toe. I'm still like changing my clothes every time I open my eyes in the morning these days. But one thing is positive though, I am sleeping through the night. So that's one thing that is good. But I am still dreaming a lot, which means like my body is still processing. Yeah, it's slow, it's progress, it's still good. Um, so the people that have a really good nervous system, we can't reset, they can reset. So when they see us, it's just really we become lazy, and we are like, it just becomes excuses for them. But their luck and their wealth is actually in their nervous system. So if you have a robust and healthy nervous system, then even if you have a lot of disability, for example, maybe if you're blind, or if you are, I don't know, you don't have limbs, which there is a TikToker that is actually like that, so kudos to him, and her to goes to her, she's a her now. um uh you can kind of you can kind of like go get over your difficulties, because the size of the problem is depending on the health of your nervous system. If your nervous system is at a peak performance optimal level, then even though it's a huge task on the outside, it's manageable. When you have like a healthy nervous system, right? You can take away all the fear, all the fun, all the trauma responses, and you just have to focus on the practical thing. Like you basically just have to focus on, okay, I can do this, I can do that, I can take this step and then this step and then that step. Because whatever happens, if something goes wrong, your nervous system is healthy enough to handle it. Yeah, it might spike fear, or like it might spike, I don't know, some a little bit of fight and flight response. But because your nervous system is healthy, it will reset back, like it will regulate itself quite quickly, and then you will just basically snap out of it, which is easier if you have your nervous system in a healthy and robust mode than if you have a damaged one. Because that incident taught me the task is still the same. The only thing that was different is like my nervous system was really bad, and then because of that one restorative night sleep, it became regulated for a few hours in that day, and I was able to manage to handle that task. It became what it actually is, quite a small task. So that's my reflection on that. And coming back to what I was talking about, which is like completion of the trauma event, I need to find out what is the trauma event that keeps making me coming back to this, um, or keeps me creating the same situation over and over again without me being able to break it out, without me being able to break out from the same cycle over and over again. It's just becoming extremely confusing now for me personally, because I feel like, like logically, I'm thinking, do I need to die to break out from this particular um, loop? Like, I'm not talking like, oh, I really suffer. I want to get out. I don't want to be here anymore. No, I'm just like having an actual, like, logical conversation with this particular event that I don't know what is, that is causing me to keep going around and around and just keep coming back more and more. And it just keep triggering me to the point that I am non functional. And in a lot of ways, it is weird because I am watching myself going into this non functional state because, like, I dissociated quite quickly. And then I can't. I can't escape. Like my body is feeling extremely icy because like it's as if that someone just inject ice into my vein and it just spread into my whole body, and then my limbs are basically not working. It becomes extremely weak. I My head would become dizzy and I feels like as if that I'm hovering above myself rather than, so it's a full experience. It's a full on experience of just dissociating and also being very traumatized. And then and then me, the person or the soul or the personality inside is basically going, is it not done yet? Are we still here? Like how long is this going to last? Oh, it's still icy. Why is it so icy? But at the same time, like I'm also having the same experience of like, oh, this feels really bad. I would just wanna, and I don't want to, keep going. I don't know, like this is just the worst. Like what is going to happen to me? Like everyone's abandoning me. Everyone is like, I'm going through all those like, voices of this person who's basically feeling like, oh, like she's gonna die, like everyone's abandoning me, and then no one's loving me, no one's taking care of me, no one's like any, like this is just the worst, what is the point of living like this, blah blah blah, while the other me is basically watching her do all of that, like saying all of that, going through all the iciness, going through the week. So it's like it's a very chaotic space. Even though like from the outside, like basically it's just me doing this, but on the inside, which was what I was just like telling you about, right? So it's insane. It's a very crowded and happening place inside this. um so there is that. So now so that's where I am at right now. I'm in that process of trying to find out like what is this event that is this the zero event, the point zero, like where everything starts and the cycles keeps turning. So I need to find like point zero of the event that I need to complete so that I can break out of this cycle, which definitely not promising that that actually would happen. It probably happened like maybe, I don't know, in my deathbed or something, that I figured it out. Like, oh, it's not that. Like, oh, you should have told me 40 years ago. It would have, it would have saved me 80 years of life. Yes, I can entertain myself. No, I don't particularly want to anymore now these days. But I don't know. I don't know what life wants for me, to be honest. My first priority is definitely keeping my trauma nervous no my first priority is to keep my nervous system intact and healthy, and getting it to a state where it can reset and regulates really fast, because I'm not saying that I want it for it not to react whatsoever, because that's not the purpose. That's not the purpose of healing. I still want it to react because that's the purpose of the nervous system. The nervous system is supposed to bypass your brain because it is an automatic thing that is supposedly uh, there to keep you alive, right? So I still want it to do its function, but I just don't want it to do its function without an actual threat to my life, which is like, a physical threat, like either I'm sleeping, from a cliff or something, and I'm hanging on by a thread with my one dodgy hand. And like that's like when you want your nervous system to beat like really fast, so that you can have all your strength all out in your limbs, so that you can basically grab your whole body weight onto this particular hand and lift yourself up and get yourself off the ledge, right? So that's when you want your nervous system to kick in, because that is the right time for it to panic, to give a panic and a huge adrenaline shot into your body. But not like when you see a person and suddenly you have like super powers, or like when you see a person and suddenly you feel like, oh, like, as if that you have a bear is running to you, and your best response is just to pretend that you're not alive, and then you're practically dead, and then, so that the bear just avoids you altogether, and hopefully he doesn't eat you at all, right? Because that's probably the right response. Usually freezing response is what you use for with animals with venoms, like, snakes, spiders, scorpion, like things like that. With bear, probably with predatory animals, you probably will have your fight and flight response kick in, so you run. um but oh, is that an insight? I just saw an insight. Is that like why I went to fawn and freeze? Is because the people that triggers it are poisonous? They're poisonous to your system? Oh, that's a big insight, isn't it? Oh, hello. That's why you like freeze and fawn, because they're poisonous. Also, my face is still messy. So does that mean that I have to trace like the 0 point event, like point zero zero to the first poison that I received from this person, or from a person, or from an event? Oh, that's probably not a bad idea to start. Hey, oh, I'm getting ideas now. Or maybe that's it, right? Maybe I need to complete the trauma response by, I don't know, this is probably a mere speculation, by saying, hey, that's not true. What they say to you is not true. It's not true. It's not true. You're okay. Yeah, whatever they say is not true. You've gone through worse. You have been, you met a lot of people that are probably worse than them, and you're still okay. It's not true what they're telling you. Maybe I just need to repeat that over and over again, and maybe I just need to be a person that is basically wasn't there during the event when it was happening, but I can pretend that I was in the event, and I'm just, basically backing myself up and completing the event, basically, because the event is one-sided, right? Like someone's attacking you, someone's giving you poison, and with which is like false narrative, so that it's just gaslighting, basically gaslighting you, so that you think, you don't really know what reality is, and then you don't really know, like, what's true and what's not. So you basically, the completion of that event is to basically tell the truth, which is it's not true what they're saying. They're lying, and they just feel threatened, probably. I don't know what's going on inside their heads, but that's not true. And you're not wrong, and you're not a bad person. You're a child, so you're not in the wrong here, and you are a good kid, and therefore you are doing well. And yeah, you can't do anything back then because you are still a child. And even though you feel still like you're a child now and you can't do anything, um despite all your efforts, it's okay. I'm not going to hate you for that. I'm not going to hate you for believing someone that you look up to, and then and for them to abu- basically abuse that trust, to attack you even when you are not their equal, so damaging you early, so that you don't have the capacity as an adult to have the tools and the right brain infrastructure and skills to basically handle what it is that you need to do because they the one that damaged it. And even though you believed it for decades and decades, it doesn't mean that you are a fool. It doesn't mean you're dumb. It just means that they damaged you early, so that you never ever had the chance to build the skills because you believed them, because they're in position of authority, because they were supposed to not abuse that authority, but they did. So now you know. So now we can build slowly the skill if we need to. And if by the grace of God, being given the luck and maybe the opportunity to steer yourself away from the situation. There you go. I'm trying to heal myself. I'm trying to talk to myself out loud so that I can get through. And I'm tapping my belly like this because I am purposely doing that, because that is the source of which all of my trauma usually centered around. When, for example, like we got construction happening around the complex a lot, and last time the most major complex was like when there was drilling happening right above my apartment, and my stomach was the first to indicate that it was stressful, and it just went on to a diarrhea spree throughout the day. And when trigger happens, my stomach went into ice. And if I am stressed, like fight and flight, it would feel like it's as if it's being twisted, like, and then there is glass shards inside of it as well, and it's just like being twisted with glass shards. So it's a lot of energy happening here, and is the source of comfort and also the source of all my problems. So that's what I wanted to do. I guess like this session serve kind of half its purpose, which was like trying to find out like what I need to complete from that particular video I was sharing with you about. Like I couldn't figure out what it was. So I'm gonna hold on to this particular event. Like this is probably what I'm going to try to resolve, but it might not be it. It might not be ground zero of the trauma event. So I might still need to be open to figure out what the ground zero was, what the ground zero event, so that I can kind of just, deal with it and complete that particular traumatic event for myself. Like, as I say, like, if it's, in this case, like I would not be able to speak up because I was being cornered and it wasn't a safe space for me to speak up, like in the ground zero, then maybe the completion of that particular traumatic event is just me screaming back as an adult, like, you're the bloody dumb one, you're the one that doesn't know what to do, you're scared, why are you compounding all your scared into a little girl, that why I'm not your emotional garbage bin, like you can go f yourself, like, maybe that's like the thing that the nervous system required of me to complete that event, um so that the balance is being in checked. So yeah, I guess I've been speaking long enough. Yes, that's enough for now. That's what I am going through at the moment. So you're probably going to get a lot of rant lately, or in the next few days, or maybe not. Never count on me on to what's when the next video is on this channel. um yeah, I cannot be counted on this channel. I will see you in the next video. Bye everyone.